I am in the process of setting up a foundation. It's called Victims of Injustice Speak or Voice, because as I found, it's extremely difficult to find people who can help you. If someone is accused wrongfully or wrongfully convicted of a crime, as Leonard Paradiso was, there are groups out there, the Innocence Project. I haven't been accused of any crime. I haven't committed any crime. I've got no one other than the authorities to turn to. And if the authorities are only interested in keeping a lid on this and keeping it swept under the rug, you've got somebody to blame, so just go away and be okay with it. No, I'm sorry. And I'm not the only person who's gone through this. This impacted so many people. I know that in the Iannuzzi family, after speaking with someone that was close to members of that family, it tore them apart. Yeah. One of the sisters actually lied on the stand. She changed her testimony. She was being threatened with never seeing her children again. Another witness was threatened with never seeing her children again, and said that the pressure was being put on them by the Massachusetts State Police, as well as the prosecutor, Tim Burke. Every time Tim Burke mentions my sister-in-law's name, he disrespects her, he devalues her. If you're going after someone, just making up a case and hitting the headlines, you have no value for who that person was. None. And I'm here to say so.
It's really amazing. Who was impacted when, from your perspective, the authorities put forth these false allegations?
Well, as I said, it does impact the person that's wrongly accused, but it impacts people that are close to them. They get stigmatized, and they have hard things that they have to deal with. But it also impacts, for example, the woman whose property it was found on. She had a nervous breakdown, lost her veterinary practice. It has impacted my children to the point where I do have concern for their safety, and I have concern about the allegations that were made in that letter. When I went forward to the prosecutor, these weren't just hearsay allegations I was making. It was in a written letter, and that letter was authenticated by a couple of family counselors that were involved. And I reached out to people who I thought could help. It may have prevented other crimes if they had legitimately looked at what happened to Joan.
Would you say that if there was any sort of a comparison that Joan's family is like the Kennedys?
I use that comparison in the book because Kennedys got away with a lot of stuff and the authorities would just sweep it under the rug. People would forget about it. Yeah, they had that kind of charm when they impacted and interrelated with people. People would just kind of follow along. I would also compare it to another case that people maybe are more familiar with in today's news cycles, and that's the Alex Murdaugh case. He was the lawyer in South Carolina, prominent family, money, well-connected, knew the ropes, knew the inner workings of how investigations go. He murdered his wife and his son. He got caught because he was lying. Well, here I've got a family that was lying, and it's not just my say-so. They are well documented through the media all through the years with this case. So I can go back specifically and say, this, and another thing that people don't know that they learned in the book is that George Webster was out of town that weekend. Everybody just assumed he was in New Jersey. I knew when we got the call that Joan was missing, I felt bad for Eleanor, Joan's mother, because I thought she's all alone. George isn't home yet. I can confirm that through news articles, that she did indeed confirm that George had been out of town. So where was he? Where was he? The description of the man that was with Joan, that individual had to know where Joan was going to be. Very few people did. Joan knew that individual. She turned to the cabbie and told him, this person's with me. The man got into a verbal exchange with the cabbie over a heavy suitcase. Well, that's kind of the demanding persona that George Webster displayed. But he also, she trusted him. He maneuvered her to a different car. And that's where she disappeared.